Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hi, afternoon.
January 2017.
Love it.
It's 4 o'clock.
It was so funny. It is 4 o'clock. All right, that's my computer. Was that your computer? Yeah, it tells me
who
what
said
time
that?
it is. Yeah.
Ooh, look at Errol's background. That's nice, Errol. Pretty. I love it. I love it. Is that from your house, Errol?
Yeah, that's from our house. It was a sunset.
Pretty.
Last December.
Nice. Love it. All right. We are getting there. So this is actually really our first Mission Possible call at 4 o'clock because last night was your Monday mindset, which, yeah, I'm really sorry you guys that I couldn't be on that. I've missed you. And I heard that the tongs were on and I wanted to get some takeaways. I know some people are just still coming on. So we'll see how much people, I know some people showed up on the morning call yesterday, I heard, because it takes a minute to kind of regroup at 4 o'clock. So we'll see how that goes. I think the morning, a lot of people like the morning because it's kind of a really good way to start the day, as was Bold today. So the first question that I have is for those of you who were on the Monday Mindset last night, I would love to hear what some of your takeaways were from that. Who was on that call last night with the tongs?
I have one.
Okay, awesome. Crystal?
They said be the thermostat, not the thermometer. In other words, with the thermostat, you control.
Oh, interesting. So what were they speaking in regard to? So what you can and can't control. So think about, was that what it was? Because the thermometer just is kind of reactive to whatever the environment is. Interesting. Cool. All right. I like be the thermostat. Great. Not thermometer. What else? Anything else you guys get from last night? I mean, yeah, yesterday, the Monday mindset with Colette and the tongs and Adrian and Attilio and what else? What else came? What other takeaways?
Lisa, this is Latasha.
Yes,
I think
Latasha.
the biggest thing for me is that all of their leads, pretty much all of their leads, the 30 for 30, came from old leads, old opportunities that they basically added a drip touch campaign, and that's how they got to that 30 for 30.
Great. Okay, so they already had been in contact with them at some point or another, and they reworked them.
Exactly.
It's huge. Talks about that big opportunity with what you guys have in your sphere and your database. So love that. Thank you for that, Latasha. What about, so let's also talk about some takeaways from this morning from Bold. So that was pretty awesome. Great way to start the day. What did you guys get from today? What did you guys get from Bold this morning? Those of you who are on Bold.
Lisa.
Hi, Dan.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm in the car. I wrote down a list of notes that I shared with the agents today at the Big Island team meeting. And I'm just going off memory. But the first thing I asked them was, what habit are they going to create in the next 66 days?
I love it.
and there was a bunch of choices there. I told him about the spiritual habit that I'm going to try to put in place, and gave them an example of what that looks like. But I said it could be a physical habit. You could decide that you're going to get up and walk every morning, or it could be a financial habit, or a personal goal, or a business goal. We talked a little bit about that. So I thought that was really good. We talked about the 20 phone calls and the 20 text messages, and what does that look like? And I tried to emphasize that, there's really no such thing as failure here. So if you look at the Bold Pivot scorecard, and if you write down in the goal that you were going to make 40 phone call, or 40 touches, 20 phone calls, and 20 text messages, and you only did 10 of each, well, that's okay, because that's 10 better than anyone else did, right? I mean, we already know the rest of the realtor community probably isn't working that hard. So, there's no such thing as failure. You're just going to get up and try a little bit better the next day.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the question, what does a win look like for them? And the other thing is, I've talked to several agents. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. I think we're losing you.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was just going to add to what you said about how many touches, and not just in comparison to their competition, which is a factor. It's also just bettering themselves, right? Getting better based on what they've done, because I've been working with some agents to do that went from, I haven't really been touching my database at all, to, okay, I have a goal this week of doing, maybe 15. And by the end of the week, they've done 8, and they didn't hit their 15. However, just like you said, they hit 8. And what did they do the week before? 0. So they went from 0 to 8. And then next week they're going to go to, 15. And now all of a sudden they've doubled what they did the week before. So it's also just, making progress.
If I can jump in here real quick. Hey,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Hi, Jared.
Hey. So I was able to join this morning's meeting, and it was super inspiring for me, which was great. And wanted to just share that, no, I didn't make 40 touches, but I made more than I usually do. And
Great.
And it looks like, there's referrals that come from that, and some bonuses out of my what was it, 8 phone calls today. They're like 30 minutes long though. I gotta like narrow, I gotta get more done. And then the other thing I wanted to share was what was inspiring to me was, making some changes in my life based on being more successful and healthier. And so, like doing a new 66-day challenge, to wake up by 6:30 in the morning every morning, no matter what, and just small changes to affect my business and my well-being. So I'm really grateful to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jared. So do you have an accountability partner to help you with checking in on your 6:30 a.m. wake up time?
Well, I've got my partner in the other room, and she holds me pretty accountable.
Yeah.
I do also have and she'll be awake by that time. I do also have an accountability partner within the Bold as well.
Oh, good. Awesome.
So that's great.
Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Yep. So Dan, since you're
Oh, Lisa, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Livette. So I wanted Dan to share one other thing with us, and then we're going to kind of talk about what Governor Ige said today and just what I know of that, and we'll address that. I don't know if Michelle's on the call. So Dan, you and I were talking about a conversation that you had, and I think you had told some of the agents over there about the conversation that you had with lenders. We were talking a little bit about when you have a deal that you are representing the seller, and one of the first things that you do is contact the buyer's lender and ask some questions, because people were running into challenges with the financing, and you were able to head that off at the pass with what you did in your business previously. So I just wanted you to share a little bit about what that conversation looks like with a lender and what is a best practice that you had implemented in your business.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, we had a system for every part of the transaction. So when you get to the, end of the shift book and it talks about bulletproofing the transaction, we had gotten burned enough on enough deals that became a real priority for us. And, I just said to the agents last week in our team meeting that, heck, you spend so much time and so much effort and so much money trying to get these properties under contract. And if you do get them under contract, oh my gosh, you can't, we just, there's always some unforeseen circumstances, but our philosophy on our team was that if it got under contract, it was going to closing. And, over our dead bodies, so to speak. So that it fell out. So one of them, and I said to the team, I said, listen, if a deal is going to fall apart, it's going to fall apart in 2 areas. It's either going to fall apart most of the time on inspection and probably secondly on lending. Well, we could probably flip that now, and given today's environment and what's going on, we could probably say it's probably going to fall apart on lending and may fall apart on inspection. And so we went through each part of the contract and we talked about how we would bulletproof each section, from inspection to appraisal to lending. And I just shared with everybody my system of what I did when I was, representing the seller. And so the contract would come in, the lender letter would come in, I'd read the lender letter, and the first thing I would do is pick up the phone and call the lender. And we had a rule on our team that we called every lender and spoke to them. And, granted, there were some lenders that were just jerks and, started off with, well, I can't tell you anything. That's actually not true. They can say yes or no to a bunch of questions. And I used to tell them that. And I'd say, okay, you don't want to tell me anything? That's fine. Then I'm going to instruct my seller not to accept your buyer's offer. And I'll let them know you were the reason for it. And we would, then they would want to all of a sudden talk to me. And so I would say things like, first off, I received a letter from your buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Is that correct? Are they clients of yours? Because I would get fraudulent letters. And particularly I would get fraudulent letters on a lot of my high-end luxury listings. That's a whole nother topic. But I would say, are these people lenders of yours or clients of yours? Yes. If it was a bank, I would say, do they have an account with you? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Have you pulled their credit report? Yes, I have. Is there anything in that credit report that would concern you or that would jeopardize you funding this loan? No, there isn't. Have you taken a look at their debt to income ratio? Are there any red flags? Are there any problems there that you see coming down the pike that could inhibit this from closing? No, everything looks good. I checked their income ratio. They look rock solid. Overall, are you at all concerned, Mr. Lender, about this closing in 27 days? Wait, 27 days? What closing did they put on the contract? Oh, you don't know? No, I don't know. Oh, well, they want to close in 27 days. Is that going to be an issue considering this is a jumbo loan and there may be, a problem getting something done that quickly? Well, I think I can get it done. Okay, well, tell me what would stand in the way of you getting it done. Well, I don't know if we could get the appraisal back that quickly. Totally understand. I understand that appraisals are taking up to 3 weeks. Do you think this scenario, Mr. Lender, that we could order the appraisal immediately after we go under contract? In other words, let's not wait until we get through inspection. Can you just order it when you receive the contract and possibly ask your buyers to consider putting a rush on the appraisal since it's only 27 days? Yes, we can do that. All right, is there anything else that I should know, Mr. Lender, that, I can tell my clients about possibly accepting this offer? He would say yes or no or whatever. In scenarios where I'd have a lender where they were taking the money from a mutual fund or from some type of an investment account, I would always confirm that they were clients of the investment group. I would confirm what the account number was that they produced for me with the lender. And I would ask this really key critical question, which is, can you tell me if the funds can be withdrawn out of the account and are liquid able to be used for the purchase of real estate, because you'd be surprised at how many people have funds into account that aren't liquid or can't be used for the purchase of real estate. And again, how do I know that? Because I learned the hard way on a deal. And so those are some of the questions that I would ask, and I keep them on the line, and I would take really copious notes. And when they were done, I'd thank them, and I would tell them, do you have my contact information? No. Okay, what's your email address? Is it the one on the letter? Yes. Okay, I'm going to send you my contact information. The next thing I would say is, I'm going to be calling to check up on this file periodically with you. I would not take the buyer's agent's word for it. I would be calling the lender. I would tell them that I'd be calling. And then once all of that was over, I had enough confidence to go back to my seller and say, I think you should accept this offer. I've talked to the lender, and I feel like we're on really solid ground here. And I think it's going to close, or at least it's not going to fall apart based on a lending scenario.
Okay,
And that was
awesome.
my system.
That's great. I think those questions are really good. I think just the idea of involving the lender as part of really the transaction team, right? We're all working together here. We all want this to go through. Everybody benefits from that. It's a win for everybody. So that's really helpful, Dan. And if you have that, I mean, in fact, you know, because I know you had a lot of really good systems with the team that you ran in Denver, if you have access to any of those files, anything that's like in a system that we could potentially share, whether it's through a, you know, Google Drive or a Dropbox or something, if you want to share that would be awesome. And then we can kind of share that with people. That'd be great.
Yep, you bet.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, a couple other things. So since these calls are later in the day, you know, not that I really should be promoting any of our agents drinking on the job, your independent contractors. It's more like Pauhana time. So, and some of you don't have your cameras on, and maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe you have a cocktail. And so we usually do our Pauhanas on Friday at 5 o'clock, although I'm just saying, I know that some of you maybe are winding down at this time. So that's it. I didn't say anything else. Okay. So a couple of things I want to talk about are, oh, Jeannie has hers. Thank you. Her
I'm
coffee
here.
mug that we don't know what's in. That's okay. So Ige, you know, Michelle's not on. We haven't had a chance to connect. I am going to call her a little bit later and talk to her about the, I don't know if it was a press conference that was held, but I saw what the governor came out with today briefly. I didn't see the actual written, you know, official order or official paperwork. I just saw a synopsis of what he said. And so just so you know, Michelle and I are going to be talking about it. One of the things that is in question is regarding the businesses that can open, because he did talk about shopping centers. And I did get a text from, for example, Whalers Village. I'm on their text chat thing. And they said that they're talking about what they're going to do and they're going to let everybody know. So my understanding is malls are one of the things that can open, and some retail stores. So again, we'll let you know. Michelle and I are going to talk about it. We're going to figure out what we want to do. And that would be as early as, he basically said, this Thursday. I think he got a lot of heat from extending. Everybody's getting a lot of heat from extending till June 1. So they are going to do a preliminary rollout of businesses opening on Thursday, which right now includes shopping malls. And technically, our Kahului office and our Westside office, Whalers office, are in malls. So I don't know yet. That's all I'm saying. That doesn't mean anything yet. I'm just letting you know it's a conversation, and we already know that that happened today. Any questions about that? It's kind of ambiguous. I'm just telling you. We're talking about it. Okay. Oh, question. Let's see.
I have a question, but it doesn't have anything to do with what you just said.
Hi, Anitra.
Hi. I'm not on video. I've sent Sam a message, and she's like, "Oh, that's a great question. Like, jump on the Zoom." And I was like, "Yay!"
Oh, cool. Awesome.
But, I'll let you finish, and then I'll ask the question. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk. We can definitely answer questions about lead gen, especially after this morning. Just want a couple. Well, I mean, I have some notes to share with you, but if you have a question, some of the people on here can help answer that. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Oh, you want me to
What
ask
you
the
got?
question?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
what you
good.
got?
Okay. So now that I'm sort of like in the whole getting emails and things about real estate, and of course that's one thing. And I spoke to a company today. I'm not surprised, and they were like, "Oh, we can sell you leads through Google and da 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 da." And I'm pretty familiar with it, but I'm just curious, like on people's own personal experience. Do they use these sort of these companies that say, you know, we provide leads, you're the only realtor, da 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 da? And if you do, what kind of success do you have with it? And I'm coming from just as a newbie. I mean, I'm looking at it like, you know, is this something practical to invest in?
I think it's a great question. I think it comes up a lot. And what I'm going to say to you, and now that you know, anybody who kind of, it's almost like, I don't know how people know, right? Once you put your stuff out there that you're an agent and everybody knows you got your license, you are going to get a lot of calls from marketing companies and people soliciting their products for leads. I think it's a great thing that you're asking rather than just doing it, because there are, you know, this group and us in leadership, your brokers have vetted a lot of those and have a sense of whether they're good, legit, make sense to invest in. As a new agent, you always want to lead with revenue. I'm going to preface it by saying that, and then I'll let some of the other agents chime in. And what that means to me is that you are first working on what is free, which is actually the best and the highest return on investment that you can get, which is your sphere of influence and building up your database with the people you know. That's number one. Number two, there are lead gen platforms that the company has available that you can use that are much more potentially cost effective and produce a higher return on investment than, say, going out and buying leads from just any company. Now, that said, there are some companies that you can get leads or have an online platform for where you do lead capture that do produce good returns on investment. Although, again, you're looking at potentially a high spend per month. So let's talk to anybody here, if there's anybody on the call that uses something like Anitra is asking in terms of lead sources or that you pay for, and is there any companies that maybe you would recommend or that you've used that you do not recommend for Anitra?
Lisa, it's Nicole. I just wanted to point out that if you are someone who's in coaching and you're new to the business, you 100% always want to check with your coach on anything you're being offered that is going to cost you money, because a lot of us have experience with those things and we can guide you depending on where you want your business to go.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, I'm going to say in general, the answer is no, don't pay for whatever it is that they're selling you. That's my general answer. Although that's not 100% of the time. I mean, typically if they're calling you on a sales call, it may not be worthwhile. What we found is the companies that are producing results are probably added to a specific maybe CRM system that they're selling, where they have an additional avenue where you can capture leads through a platform that they've created that's attached to their CRM. Again, that said, we really want you to be using Command, because ultimately that's going to be a better overall platform for you. Lee, do you want to speak to that at all? You're muted, sorry.
Yeah, I was saying if I can get unmuted here. You have to click on the right button for that to happen.
Yes.
So typically the ones that, and I've spent a lot of money and tested a lot of these things. So the ones that are kind of, you're the exclusive agent for this particular zip code, those have all been zeros for me. The tried and true, the ones that are more expensive, have had the best return, and our pay per click through Google AdWords is probably the best return for us. But the real best return is your database. It's people that you know already. It's people that will refer somebody to you. As the Tongs talked about yesterday, and Latasha mentioned it, you know, the ones they're 30 for 30 that they've done were people that were already in the database that they've been cultivating for months and sometimes maybe years. And you know, I study Ninja, and Larry Kendall came out with stats last week, I think from NAR. Online leads, the conversion rate through NAR research is like 1 in 100. So if you can start to get people into your database, people that you know, start to cultivate them, And there was a good call, a shift call last week on cultivation. That would be what I would recommend, and not to invest that money. There's better ways to invest your money.
All right.
Does that help, Anitra?
It does, yeah. That was I really wanted to hear from other people. I actually reached out to a couple friends about it too, because I just wanted to know, was it something? And so far the consensus is I haven't. I know people that have, but I haven't, or I wouldn't suggest it, or yeah. So it seems to be the answer.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you want to run it by again, you're a coach, broker, somebody that I mean, you're doing the right thing by asking. And so, and Lee, I picked Lee because Lee's been in this business a long time, and I know that he's tried a bunch of different things. So he's a really good resource. Daniel Rude's on the call. He's another really good resource. Okay, so let me just go back and answer some questions. Oh, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Where's Keone? Keone, oh, he's teaching his class. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have been on the call with a shot of tequila and a sombrero. And you can tell him that I said that. Okay. Anne-Marie, can you speak to issues with airlines? So what they said, Anne-Marie, the only thing they said in regard to travel on that summary that I saw today was that, and I quote, something to the effect of, pretty close to quoting, they expect that it will be months, and that's the word that they used, before basically the tourist community is open again, whether that's airlines, whether that's hotels, whether that's, they use the word months. So I wouldn't expect that to roll out anytime soon, or that's going to be, say, phase 3 of 3 or phase 4 of 4. However, you know, we'll probably know by June 1. I wouldn't expect that we're going to see any change in travel stuff by June 1. Some people are saying
Lisa, did you see the list that came out from the airlines that are not flying to Kahului?
No, I did not. Did that come
in
out today?
August, and some are
September
to September 30th.
Yeah, I had heard August. I would not expect until, yeah, August or the fall, because remember, we talked about before, we have to realize that Hawaii still has to come up with a protocol for that before, and the ability to implement whatever it is that their new protocol is, which is going to take months probably. So now again, that doesn't mean they're not still allowing people to come here, which they are. Certain airlines are. There are still, you know, like they were talking about 5,000 people had arrived in Hawaii over the last, it was pretty recent overall, like it's 500, a few hundred, couple hundred, and that they lost them, meaning that they came, went to wherever they were going, and nobody was keeping track of them. Yes, Dan.
Andy Bemrose with our office is the West Hawaii Association president, and she was telling us today that she was going over governmental affairs in the team meeting, and she was saying that, you know, part of the discussion that's going on the county level is that they actually don't have any plans to allow short-term vacation rentals anytime soon. Like they are suspended indefinitely until a later notice. So they don't foresee vacation rentals, short-term vacation rentals coming back for several months.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I would expect that to coincide, we don't know for sure, coincide more with when they start allowing tourists here again, right? Because they have to be able to accommodate them, and many people can't, you know, aren't gonna, I don't know, unless the hotels charge what a vacation rental charges, that we'll have to kind of deal with that. So that's good info though. Thank you for that. And then Lee's saying, I think Victorino will have the final say for Maui, right? Well, that is a good question. And that's been in question because initially that was the case. Then it shifted to all county officials had to get approval from the governor. And then of course there was a pushback on that. So what the actual answer is right now, I don't know. I know that that he had to write a letter and appeal to the governor when he wanted to open the beaches. So who knows? I think that's fluid. Unless anybody else has anything or inside information on that. That's kind of what I know so far. So we'll keep you posted on these daily calls as we hear things. And then again, I'll talk to Michelle about what we're going to do about our office. Okay, a couple other things that I wanted to go through with you guys was, so I was on a call with Gary Keller and Josh Team and a bunch of other team leaders, which was awesome, a couple days ago. And so I have some notes from that I wanted to share with you. One of the guys that was on that call as a guest was, oh, where's my note? Where's my note on what he was doing? All right, I'm not gonna have to look for it while I'm talking about other things. Okay. I did want to share with you a cool little success story, and Anitra, this kind of goes with what you asked too about leads. So if you are building your database, you don't have a big sphere and that is growing, and you are looking at outside lead opportunities, the very first place that I would encourage you to look, and how many times do I say this, is in campaigns, in Command, is really taking advantage of and utilizing your social media ad campaigns there. And Anitra, you don't have to have a listing to do an ad in there. You can talk to any agent in this office that has a listing and say, hey, can I promote your listing for free? You don't have to pay for it. I'll pay for the ad to promote your listing. And by the way, you know, maybe we'll find you a buyer. That's what I did. I reached out to everybody and said, hey, you guys, I want to promote your listings. Let me promote your listings. So I would look at doing that, because you can get that as low as potentially $1 per lead. I mean, it might be on average $3 to $5 a lead. So they told a story. This was another guest on a call that I was on, that a gal who ran, 19 different campaigns over 63 days. She spent $863 over about a 2-month period. So $430 a month. So 100 and whatever that is a week, $110 a week. And she, out of that 63-day campaign run, she signed, she got 7 new buyers, signed 7 buyer listings, which are buyer rep agreements, and one listing. And she already has 3 in escrow from that campaign. So that's an example. And, again, you can set your budget on that. So I would really, really encourage you guys to look there, because that really is a partnership with Facebook, and we really have an advantage and a market advantage right now to be able to capture those kinds of leads as people are cutting back on those expenses. Another thing was, okay, we talked about bold. Oh, another thing I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of, and that Gary and Josh talked about, was that KW has on KW Connect, it's called KW Media Room. If you haven't seen it, it's a page you can follow. So if you search KW Media Room, you should follow it, because what it does is KW puts up like any articles or anything that gets published about the company. So from third-party sources that are experts in the industry. So Swanepoel's, sheet about the top real estate brokerages. It's got like Career Bliss stuff about the happiest places to work. So these are articles that you can pull to use in your listing presentations that will really help give you an advantage. Obviously you're really there building the relationship and having them work with you, although it really doesn't hurt if they have a relationship with another agent from another company and you go in and you show them some of that stuff about the company. That's positive press. That's from companies like Barron's and Wall Street Journal that consumers know about and they've heard of and they look to as an expert, as a resource. So it's KW Media Room. Go there and connect and follow it and check out all the stuff from like Wall Street Journal, Forbes is in there, Housing Wire, Market Watch. There's a bunch of stuff in there that is really cool for you to look at and use. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about that, because I don't go in there very often. There's stuff about Fast Company in there. It talks about another thing that some companies are starting to talk more about is their own technology. Right? We started this whole thing 3 years ago, and now people are coming up with what they think is their answer to Command. And so some of these things actually, if you go to those sources, have articles about, just for your information, about the other company's platforms, so you can see why this one is better. And then you can translate that into why it makes sense for the consumer, because you're using that platform, which is the best in the industry for, you know, based on, again, third-party data, not just you telling them. So take a look at that in there. Okay, anybody have any questions about any of that? Let me look at the, okay, nothing else in the chat box. And then there was another page. Okay, let me go to my Gary Keller notes, because there was another KW page I wanted to share with you. Oh, by the way, here's something cool. So the, well, it was the final for today, and people still can register for Bold, by the way, if you do talk to anybody over the next, they said at least through this Friday, if not through the 12th, they're going to keep registration open, because people can go on the Facebook page and watch the last, they'll be able to watch what they miss. So they're keeping registration open a little bit longer. So I told you guys, those of you who saw my Facebook post, and I sent the email out, we were very close. At 4:30 last night, we were at 86 we were at 83 registrants. And Debbie Bradley texted me and said, the Danville office in California was at 86. They were 3 ahead of us. And I thought, oh, no, we can't. We got to get a few more agents in there, which will be good for them. So we were reaching out to you guys last night, and some of you were reaching out to us. And so we did get an email today. So Danville office ended up with 100 agents when they started. We started with Bold this morning, and we had 103 agents. So we were #1 in the entire region of Northern California and Hawaii in number of agents that we have participating in Bold. So super awesome. And of course, that's going to pay off for all you guys, which is going to make everybody very happy, because it's just going to equal production. So now that task is on you to take the information, do the work, do the homework. You know, here's where it counts. So, and like Dan said, just work on improving your own numbers every day, improving your activities and your actions every day. And you do that and you'll be in great shape, and the momentum will build. So that was kind of cool. Okay, a couple things. Let me pull up my notes. So Gary, you know, I had like pages and pages of notes, so I just highlighted some key things. I may not get through all of them today, so we may just carry this over a little bit, although I'm just going to start to go in order and cover some of the things. So one is Gary talked about, you know, being in the kind of the crisis of what's going on right now. And he said, just because things won't be the same doesn't mean they won't be better than they were. So really think about these changes that we're going through as an opportunity to be better and improve what we're already doing. He said, life goes on. If you want it to be better, it can be. It's really a choice that you're making. And he told his own story about going through different changes in his life and things that had happened that were pretty devastating, you know, past market shifts, personal things. And he said it's always been better for him coming out of something, right? When you're dealing with a situation that's a crisis, whatever that looks like. And he said the main reason that things have always been better for him when something like this happens is because he gets up and he goes to work. He takes it as an opportunity to do activities that he needs to do to get ahead when things change again, right? As this transition happens again and we come out of whatever it is to the next step. So keep that in mind, right? And he talked about people just kind of sitting on their couches and, you know, hoping things get better or treating it like a snow day and not work. Sorry, you're going to hear another working person on the phone behind me. Okay. So he said 80% treat it like a snow day and just wait for things to get back to normal. And he explained a little bit why that happens. So if those of you sometimes feel like that, like, oh my gosh, you don't know what to do, you're kind of stuck in this funk. He said it is really hard sometimes for us to be able to comprehend and wrap our arms or our brains around the situation and what's going on, especially because we haven't experienced that before. So that is okay. Just know that you can't let that be your governing mindset. And those of you who are in Bold, you're not going to have that problem because like Jared was saying, you're going to be motivated and inspired and it's going to help you, you know, move forward. He said the only way to predict the future is to shape it. Future has not been defined yet or decided yet, and you have the opportunity to shape it for yourself. And we as a group have the opportunity to shape what that looks like. He said that difficult times require difficult decisions, so it's not easy. A radical change in circumstances force a radical change in priorities. A radical change in circumstances force a radical change in priorities. So if those are some of the things that you're going through right now, that's normal. He said recession is just another name for exposure, because in a recession, it exposes everything. It exposes your thinking, it exposes your heart, the models that you use, your actions. It exposes people in general, and money and financial situations. It can be hard. It's very revealing. So again, of course, talking about touching your database, that's so critical. And you know, your clients and how important that is, that you are touching your database. We've talked a lot about that. Asking them, doing their care calls, because they're having difficult situations. They can be stressed out, you know, they're worrying about their situation. So it's really important for you to be able to reach out to them. And he said it is your job to be on the phone every day. That is your job right now as a realtor, to be on the phone every day and touching your database, your sphere, your community. He says a minimum of 25 people a day. Obviously, if you work with Bold, you're gonna get beyond that. So that's good. Let's see, 2 types of individuals. So one of the things that was a takeaway for me in terms of how to help you guys and lead you is that he said some of you as agents really, you know, like are want the training and kind of take the training and then know what to do and can come up with your own. By the way, can you hear me okay? Or is that or are you just hearing too much noise? Okay. So some of you really just are saying, okay, give me the training. I'm going to take the training and I'm going to implement what I learn and I'm going to know what I need to do. And then some of you may really need a little bit more guidance. I mean, especially if you're new, I get that. Like, you know, tell me what the prescription is. What do I need to be focused on? Spell it out for me. Tell me what to do and how to do it, which is one of the reasons Bold is so powerful, because it really does give you those action items to focus on. So I guess what I'm asking you guys to do is let me know how I can best help you, or as anybody's reaching out to you from the office, if you talk to anybody, let us know, because if you don't tell us, we don't know. And, you know, kind of what category do I need to put you in? And that'll help me to determine what are the things that I want to invite you to and what are the things that are going to make the most sense for you to be a part of. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments or questions about that? Or feedback for me? Okay. If you do, let me know. I'm going to end with, and then I got to end this call at 4:45 because I have a coaching call. So I'm going to just go through a couple other things. But the last thing, this is a reiteration of Dean. So Todd Hudson mentioned this from his Top 100 call with Gary. And Dean Otto mentioned this. And I'm going to mention it again because I think it's really good. And this came from Keith Cunningham, who wrote the book Keys to the Vault and some other books, and who was the Rich Dad and Rich Dad Poor Dad in Kiyosaki's book. So the key thing that they focused on is act like you work in an emergency room, right? We heard this. Act like you are in an ER right now. And what are the 5 components of working in an ER? Number 1 is right now requires you to have extreme focus and intensity. Number 2 is that you're constantly monitoring your vital signs. So what are the vital signs in your business? Determine what those are in your life and make sure you're monitoring those on a daily basis, at least a weekly basis. Number 3 is that you have constant communication. So that's with your sphere, that's with your peers, that's with anybody in your world that you're in constant communication right now. Number 4 is massive flexibility to respond to changing conditions. They talked a lot about, and I've heard this on multiple calls, how important it is that you don't get caught up in the way things were, the way you were doing business, the way you were living your life, because if you're caught up in that, you are not moving forward and you are not responding to changing conditions, and you will not survive or thrive. So you must have flexibility, and that can be stressful and that's difficult for some people sometimes. just embrace it and make it part of what you're doing right now. Number 5 was speed of action or speed to action. So respond quickly and, not from an ignorant place or from a panic place, but be prepared to respond quickly. Okay, because speed of action is key, especially when you're dealing with like cutting expenses or responding to changes in your business. And then, so I'll just keep kind of doing nuggets of these notes as we go out through the week, and then I'll probably be done. I got to page 2 out of 6, so that's pretty good. And then I can also send you all the notes. These are just kind of the highlights. Yes.
Would you repeat number 2, please?
Yes. Number 2 is constantly monitor vital signs.
Vital sign. There you go. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Will this recording be available later? I jumped on the call a little late. Raiden. Yeah, we can send it out if you want. So it looks like Latasha's recording it. We can send it out so you can catch the beginning of it. And then please also know that emergency room takeaways was, oh, okay. Thank you, Latasha. So you sent the emergency room takeaways for the update for Wednesday. So today, you sent the ER takeaways today?
Yes, I sent them today because Colette had mentioned it yesterday. So I
so
wrote
awesome.
all my notes and put it in that email.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Thank you, DJ Baldwin. Okay, you guys, that's all I have for today. Do you guys have anything else? And then we'll touch base tomorrow.
Isn't today Tuesday?
Today is Tuesday.
Okay.
Well, the reminder was preparing for tomorrow.
The reminder was preparing for tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Although I don't fault you for asking what day it is, because I find myself looking at my calendar and asking that a lot. All right, you guys, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being on the call, and have a great night and be bold. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks for your contribution today, you guys. Okay, bye.
Thank you.